Hello. I am really hoping to do this outside, but the insects and the birds and everything are being very loud. I'm okay with it, but for recording, my microphone was like going real high. So hopefully y'all can hear me okay and it works out. This is my first video um on Substack. I know it's technically considered like a podcast, and that's always been something in the back of my mind with a friend of mine, with my best friend. But we live thousands of miles apart, and so we haven't gotten to it. Um, and that was always for um more entertainment because she's the funniest person I know. Um, and some health related stuff and relationship stuff and so forth. But I decided once a month on the 5th of each month because that's when the mortgage comes out, so I will never forget that day. I'm going to share an update on where I am because I'm sharing all the things I know. I'm sharing the tools that I've learned, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you know me and where I'm at and that I'm doing it as well. And so I'm living proof. Um, just again, I hope it's not too loud. I'm on my back deck because it's gorgeous out and I needed to be outside. I just needed some fresh air. I was sick of being in that bright light inside. And it's super cold. It's like a fridge in our house. Um, anyways, to start. Um, I mean my story starts just like most females my age and older. Um, we started counting calories or trying to lose weight or get into these fads when we were kids. I remember drinking Slim Fast when I was in elementary school. Um, I remember being so focused on having abs and doing crunches every night on my bedroom floor. Again, when I was in elementary school. Um, I remember, being in 6th grade and we had a pool in our backyard. We were so blessed. And I remember being self-conscious in now the AC's going in a two-piece swimsuit in 6th grade, and I thought I was fat in 6th grade as a child. But that was kind of the culture that we grew up in the 90s, early 2000s. And although things have changed, they have not changed a lot. For some reason, I feel like females are stuck, some males too, but mostly females are stuck in this mindset and they cannot get out of it. And I coached for over 3 years, and that was like my main job. It was my only source of income. And it was incredible. And I changed so many people's lives. The only thing is I didn't do it right all the time. Of course I had limitation boundaries of how I was supposed to coach. Um, and it was proven that you could lose weight. I could lose weight. I lost weight. Um, and the stories that were gained, but it was the sustaining part. It was that the actual lifestyle change that you couldn't get when you just cut calories so much. Um, continuing on, so um in high school, I was very focused. I shouldn't say very focused. I was self-conscious, always comparing myself to everyone else, but I was always in sports, so it balanced out. I remember I got mono my junior year, and that was the thinnest I ever been. And I wanted to continue not eating because I was so thin. Still not the thinnest in the class, but that was my mentality. Don't eat. Of course you can't do that when you play sports. Um, and then I would go to the complete other extreme my senior year of like I don't care what I put into my body. So I was drinking 3 bottles of Mountain Dew a day and eating cookies and brownies and ice cream for every meal, and that obviously doesn't work either. Um, and then I went to college, and that first year of college, I learned what binging was. I binged pizza galore. Um, to the point of sickness almost every single night, and I'm not exaggerating. My freshman roommate can attest to it. Um, we would order pizza and we would eat it all, and we would get so sick and we would binge. And at that point, I was grateful that I had her as a roommate so I didn't have to hide it, but it was uncontrollable. Um, and then uh after that, I was like, well, I got to get more control. And I had roommates after that. So it wasn't quite as bad. I started working even more. I got a third job. This was my second year of college. I got a third job. So I was super busy all the time. And I started like working out. And when I started working out, of course, when you start working out, then you're like, I need to eat well. So I was probably eating 1,000 calories a day. Again, none of it is healthy. I'm just trying to share my background because it starts so young. I feel like it starts so young for a lot of us, at least. I'm going to be 32 in a couple months, and it starts when we're young. Um, so I found my love of like working out. I wasn't in sports anymore. So I had to figure out what that looked like. But of course I didn't feel myself for it. And then starting my third year of college, I moved on my own, 1-bedroom apartment because I was done with roommates. And it went well for a while. Of course I was still fat. So that's when I joined Beachbody and did the 21-day fix and did all of this and that. Um, I just heard Kobe, our outside cat. Um, but of course I was still so fat and I was doing all the things. And that's when I um took a different job. For that third job, I did something else. It was a cleaning position, and that's a lot more work. So when you're working multiple jobs and you live by yourself and you don't eat all day because you want to be fit, well, that just turns into the binge restrict cycle anyways. So I started binging again, hardcore. And then I got really sick. I was also going out a lot too. I was drinking, partying, not being healthy, all the things, no sleep, you know, um, low protein, not eating nutritious food, not eating all day. My blood sugar was probably a disaster. Like now that I know like more biological functions, I cringe at what I have done to my body. Um, but then I got sick. I got a C. diff infection and it knocked me out. Um, and it was probably the first like wake up call, I would say. Like I realized at that point, like it had knocked me down where I had dropped out of that semester for college, and moved back in with my parents and then finished up a semester later. This is my senior year. I was so sick, and I think it was, my first wake up call of I'm not taking care of myself. Did I learn from it? Not really. So then again, I still had Beachbody. So at that point, I was like, I'm committing. I'm going all in. So then I would do the insanity workouts and, P90X. And I was finally eating more protein, but not in a healthy way. I would strictly eat a can of tuna. I remember my mom, because I was living with my parents last semester of college, and I like dumped the whole can out. My mom's like, "You were not eating that all." I'm like, Yes, I am. And I would just eat that. It wasn't like I would make it a meal. I would just eat that. Yeah, I lost some weight. Of course I did. Was it healthy? No. So does that mean it was sustainable? Absolutely not, because it's not done health. It's not done the right way. Um, and I got, a little obsessed. And then I graduated college and I was like, I'm moving. So that was the first time I moved to Lexington. And then I still to this day recommend everybody getting out, moving away, going somewhere you know nobody, because it was the best experience. And that's when I started going to a gym and learned lifting and fell in love with lifting. The changes in my body was incredible. I was starting to really tone, like I could see muscle. I was getting smaller, but yet my weight wasn't changing. And I started to put pieces together, right? Like I was like, oh, maybe it doesn't matter what the scale says. Of course I'd still weigh myself. And if it went up, I sure was upset and would punish myself. Um, but then I'd start to, I learned to eat a little bit cleaner. Um, I was eating more whole foods. I was still partying, still drinking. Um, but I feel like I was starting to listen to my body and learn my body a little bit more, right? Um, again, was I eating enough? No, it's probably eating maybe the most 1,200 calories. And I was being active and working out. Like, again, to this day, I'm like, no wonder. Like, of course, of course. So, then I get pregnant. A blessing, of course, in disguise. But, that was again at my fittest at that point, my fittest I'd been in a long time, and I got pregnant. And because of that, my mindset, changed. I was like, well, I can eat whatever I want. I'm gonna get fat anyways. So mac and cheese, uh, Taco John's just about every day. Just so much like fast food. It was so bad. And every day, every day. Um, and during this, I mean, in college, I was also diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. In high school, I was diagnosed with hypothyroidism. So I wasn't taking care of my body, especially in the way that I should be. Those diagnoses maybe changed me for a month, at the time. But then I was like, it's like I completely forgot about them or wouldn't change anything. Again, I was young, whatever. So I ended up moving back home. Um, and after I had Jameson, then I was like, I'm getting healthy again. I missed lifting weights. I really did. So I got back into the gym. I started walking a lot. And again, I wasn't eating properly. You know, um, I was able to get my first coaching job, which again was incredible. It taught me so much. And it fueled my passion because I have learned that is my passion. But again, it was so focused on weight loss. Just weight loss, not fat loss, not body composition change, just some random number of your mass on the scale, as long as that goes down. Even if your pant size goes up, your weight is going down. Like that's the mentality. And that's the mentality that I find today still with a lot of women. Is like they don't care if they fit in the same pants. They just want some number, which is again, I get it because I was there for a long time. Hi, Colby. Um, Hi, Colby. You want to say hi? You want to say hi? Come here. Come here. Yeah. This is Mr. Colby. Say hi, Mr. Colby. He's my Simba. He's a lion. Yeah, to keep all the mice away. Yeah. Okay, okay. Good boy. Okay. Sorry. He was rubbing up on me. Twig's out here somewhere. But, anyways, so after I had him, I was like, it was more so an aesthetic thing of like, I'm fat. I don't look good. And I was living on my own again. And I was like, all I want to do also mental thing of like, I need to distract my mind with this other thing. I gave him up for adoption. I jumped in. True traditional strength training. But again, the nutrition side, all I cared about was losing weight on the scale. Um, I probably was eating more. I probably was eating about 1,500 to 1,600 calories at that time, but was dropping weight. Luckily I was strength training, so I kept muscle tone. Thank goodness. Um, and then I got into a really bad abusive relationship, and that was horrendous, but that made things worse. I wasn't able to work out as much unless I basically hit it. I would take on splits at work. So I'd open and then I'd have like time in the middle of the day and then I'd close. And I did it on purpose. So the middle of the day, I would be able to go work out. But anyways, I was not eating very much. Again, if you've been in that situation, it's hard, but I was like, I just want to go to bed. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to eat. I don't like, again, not good situation, but I was losing weight. I was the thinnest I had ever been. Did I look my best? No. Did I have tone? No. Was I still super flabby? Yes, I was. But that number on the scale sure was going down. You know? So at this point, how many times have I gone up and down, up and down? Got out of that relationship, and then I really started eating more. I was like, no, I need to fuel my body because I like muscle. I want a figure. I want to be strong. Um, but with that came, of course, a job change. I just got promoted and I don't handle stress well. And I was so strict with my diet of what I was eating, how I was eating. I tried the 75-day challenge. Don't do that, please. Please don't do that. Because you restrict so much and you are so strong. When you have that day off, you create that all or nothing mentality. So I would go off and I would binge and be like, okay, no, no, back on, back on. And I'd have a day or two good and then a bad day. So it wasn't adding up. 2 good days don't outdo a bad day if it's consistently every, couple days. And I just creep up, creep up. Got another promotion and they moved me to Ohio. And Kobe, they moved me to Ohio. And same thing, new place. I was coping with food. It was okay for a while. It would go up and down. It was the consistent binge restrict kind of cycle. I would do good for a bit and then I would binge out. And then I would get back on. I can't do that anymore. And then I would binge for a few days. And then Monday, as soon as Monday rolls around, I'm going to do it. But when you get into that cycle, you're just slowly creeping up, slowly creeping up. Eventually, I got to a point where I'm like, I'm not going back to where I was. Back in college, I got to like 210 pounds. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that again. And I was about 160. And I had creeped up from like 120 to 160. So 40 pounds. I'm a short girl. I'm 5'2". That's a lot. And although 160 didn't look bad on me because I had muscle, thank goodness, I was creeping up. So I hired a coach. I don't think that coach was a great idea because it wasn't a good coach. You have to learn who the good coaches are. She charged $350 a month, which I was willing to invest in myself because I was investing in my health. And it was very restrictive. It was very meticulous. You had to track this every single day and this, your water, your sleep, your mood, your period, your macros, your exactly what that food was. There was 2 or 3 spreadsheets. And again, I appreciate the data. I understand it. But from where I was, as far as where I am when it comes to the yo-yo dieting, the binge restrict, my personality traits, everything that I've been through, that's not how you want to do it. It's not because, well, I learned. But I worked with her for a while and then, you know, it was better because she wasn't so focused on the scale. but I still wasn't eating enough. I think she had me around 1,900 calories, but I, it wasn't enjoyable. I wasn't enjoying what I was eating. Um, I was just so overwhelmed and stressed about it that a lot of things weren't changing. And then I got to the point where I felt like I was failing because I was failing somebody else, which is the worst kind of failure for me. I don't care if I fail myself. I care if I fail other people. Um, because that's all that matters, according to my mind. Is how other people look at me. Um, but because I felt like I was failing her, even I wasn't. But again, and this is in my mind how I was. So then I quit. I canceled her and I got a hardcore binge cycle. And then I lost my job. My company shut down all their locations, gave us like, I don't even think it was a full month notice. It was horrendous. I was very upset. I was very depressed. I went into a position that I hated, worked with a small local company, that startup company that it was awful. Just bad leadership, which that's all you can ever find these days, I have found. Sorry if that's loud. Um, and then I got really depressed. Um, thank goodness I had met Sam and he would stay with me. Um, he was basically living with me, you know. But I would I was like legit depressed, probably for multiple reasons, but I would get home. I'm sorry if the TMI, but we would smoke THC and I would go to bed. And it could be 7 o'clock if I hadn't worked late. Otherwise, I would just be working late because I'm just a workaholic. Even though I hated them, hated what I was doing, I wanted to succeed. That's just who I am. And I got into a crazy binge cycle. This was about 4 years ago. And the weight just kept creeping up. And yes, you know, it doesn't help when you're super comfortable with someone and they kind of join you in your misery, and in your depression. But we tried, a couple times of like, okay, let's get back on it. Let's get back on it. We were strict and we'd be very, um, pinpoint of like, we're going to do this for breakfast. We're going to do this. Again, it was not enough food. It was too restrictive. And we would do it for a couple weeks and then fall right back off. Like it wasn't consistent. We couldn't do it. So, um, when I changed jobs because Sam was like, you can't live like this anymore. And I didn't care. I was like, I don't care if I have to go back down to whatever. Like, I'm not doing this anymore. So I did. I went to Planet Fitness. Um, I won't even get into that. But I ended up moving, we ended up moving down to Lexington. And that's when I gave it up. Um, we went through like we were halftime. I was in Lexington, Sam was still in Ohio. We had this point and there was too much going on. I was not, I was stressed and I just said, I'm done. Not done focusing on my health, but I'm done focusing on the scale. I'm done focusing on macros. I'm done focusing on just all the nitty gritty details that don't matter because guess what? I'm back here again. You know, I was 190 at that point. I'm back here again. Um, and so that's when it started for me. I started listening to my podcast. I love Mind Pump. That is the only true podcast that I will always and forever value and trust and support. But, they talked a lot about just whole foods, eat your protein. Um, you don't have to do as much as you think. You just throw away the timeline, throw away the scale, and focus on your health, your longevity. And then I just started really digging into research and really looking at what I was taught throughout coaching, what I was taught throughout college. I got my undergraduate degree, bachelor's in biology, and started looking at everything. And I was like, I mean, it's right here. Everything teaches the importance of protein. Things teach how important it is to fuel your body and how much your body needs calories and energy. But yet we don't do that. We don't teach other people that. The entire fitness industry is horrendous, with that. The abnormal and abstract ideas of what a normal healthy body even looks like to begin with. Body fat percentage. Like there's so much that we know, but yet it's not taught or known, I guess, through the mass public. It was wild. And I was like, well, if all the science is saying this, why am I constantly going against what that, that says, what Mind Pump trainers say? So that's what I started doing. Me and Sam, I just said, as long as we eat whole foods, we make our food at home, high protein, that's it. I don't care. I'm not tracking calories. I'm not tracking anything. I'm just going to eat. If I'm hungry, I'm going to eat. If I'm full, I'm going to stop eating. And that's it. For me, a little bit of a workaholic, the eating part was tough, which I've had tendencies of that of I just get so caught up in what I'm doing, I don't eat, and then I get so hungry and I eat a lot. Um, but over the last two and a half years, we've done really well of just eating. And now, like, I can track. Okay, I am not my physically fittest. I am not. And I am not my healthiest, but that's more autoimmune stuff. That's stress management. And that's why I left my corporate job. Um, and I don't plan on ever going back into the corporate world unless I'm creating it myself. I'm not doing it. That's a God's calling thing that He wants me to do this. Um, but the stress levels were insane. Cortisol was insane and screwing up my entire body. But the fact of whole foods, high protein, I have been able to maintain my weight for the last 2.5 years. For the last 2 years. Um, it waffled there a little bit in the fall when I had surgery, but I've been able to maintain, and I'm like eating anywhere between 2,500 and 2,800 calories, and have not been consistent at the gym. I had a knee reconstruction surgery in November. Jesus Christ. Which I guess, well, one, it was completely unexpected. It happened really quickly. I got hurt on a hike um and had surgery in a month. And it was not what I expected. That was like the first major surgery I've had, like especially as an adult, and it was a lot. But that also means eating was not perfect. I focused on protein though because I knew recovery. But you can't do anything. You can't move. You're in your bed most of the time for at least the first 2 weeks. You have to go to PT, but PT is straightening your leg, putting some weight on your leg. It's not exercise. It was just, oh, hello, Twig. Where were you? Were you eating cat food? Probably. Um, Probably about 5 or 6 weeks ago is when I started to lift again. And when I say that, I mean really started. Like I'm starting at square one because I refuse to get injured again. Um, but I'm already noticing I'm keeping my calories high, protein high. I'm not tracking. I track every once in a while, just like, where are my calories out? Like, generally, I focus on protein, and I'm getting into the gym 2 times a week. And like I said, it's been consistent for about the last 5 to 6 weeks. Um, I have not weighed myself um for a long time, but I'm not going to because I don't care. I don't care what that number says. That doesn't define me, and I know that if I did step on it, it would probably hurt my feelings. Or if it's down more than I think, I would get really excited and probably change some things. Like that would determine what I do next. And I don't want to do that because I feel good. I'm being consistent at the gym. I'm getting stronger at the gym. So I know I'm building muscle. I'm eating high protein. I stop when I'm full. I love what I eat. It's all whole food. Like I know I'm doing all the right things. I'm taking more walks. I'm wearing my watch now just to track steps. Nothing crazy. I try to get outside. I try to keep moving. I avoid the TV so much. Like the stress, when I'm stressed, which I used to also thrive under stress. You say that when you're young and if you like what you're doing. Yeah, if not, your body goes into craziness. But all I'd want to do is do the bare necessity of get laundry done, get dishes done, and lay in bed. That's it. And now we will watch TV before we go to bed, but other than that, I don't put the TV on. Like I'm constantly staying busy. Of course, I'm building a business and a company. I'm trying to. Um, but that's what I'm doing, and I know that it's working, and I'm very excited that I'm finally consistent in sharing that with you all. And I'm not 100% clear from surgery, but I'm doing it. I am working out twice a week. So I know it's going to be slow, but I would rather have slow progress and consistent progress than a fast fad diet that lasts for a month and then I'm back to where I started because I'm never going to do this again. That is in my mindset of I'm never doing this again. Me and Sam have talked about um having a family, which again is something new to me, but I want that. And I need to be healthy for that. And I never want to have these ups and downs, especially with a child in the household. Um, so it's kind of a rundown. I probably have missed out on a lot of details, on a lot of health stuff, but you get the gist. Um, I'm doing this right along with you. It's what I have learned. It is what I have found to be so helpful to me. Like I said, for the last 2.5 years, I've maintained my weight. I am not restrictive. I don't feel like I'm hungry. I don't feel like I'm missing out on food. If I want to go out to eat, we go out to eat, and I don't feel guilty about it. If I want to make a dessert, I make a dessert and I eat it, and I don't feel guilty about it. I don't binge anymore. Um, there's so many positives, and I feel like I actually have food freedom. And that's why this time I know it's going to work. And I know, again, I don't care if it's slow progress because it's going to work. I'm doing it the right way. I'm eating properly. I'm eating lots of calories. I'm changing my body. I'm fueling my body for those changes. Um, and I just hope that you can come along with me. And if you have questions, I promise I've been there before. I've done it before. And I am just grateful that I am able to work out again, to really start to see the changes, even though it's going to be slow with my knee. I'm okay with that. For the first time, you know, I'm okay with that because at least I'm walking. At least I can do some of these movements. It might not be perfect, but we'll do what we can with what we can. Anyways, I hope that gave you a little bit more insight into me and who I am and a little bit about my story around my weight and health and such. I've been there. I've been up, I've been down. 90-pound difference from 120 pounds to 210 pounds. Been right in the middle. I've done it right, I've done it wrong, I've done it through cardio, I've done it through weightlifting, I've done it through the fad diets from keto, Atkins, Slim Fast when I was a child. I've done all the things. Um, and I've learned a lot through that. But now that I'm back to being able to move, I'm very excited to have you right along with me to do this with you the right way and show you the right way and show you that it does work and that life is just meant to be lived and you can enjoy it and you don't need to starve yourself and you can see your body change and that it doesn't matter what the number on the scale says. Eventually, I will step on it again. Um, but when I feel better mentally about it, um, that's when I'll choose to do it. So it doesn't affect my actions and what I'm actually doing. Um, but I hope you all have a blessed day. If you have questions, please share them. If you're interested in learning more about what I've learned and how I have been able to avoid any kind of binge eating in the last 2.5 years and maintain and have food freedom and eat what I want, eat when I'm hungry, stop when I'm full, have the snacks, go out to eat, all the things. Even in a comfortable relationship, even when I'm stressed out to the max and my health is going downhill, I would say talk to me. Or two, um, I have my first ever digital product out. Eat Wise, the first step to food freedom. And that truly has helped a lot because I'm not tracking anymore. I'm not counting my macros or counting calories. I have learned how to track the most important thing and make sure I'm getting that every day. And it's all in my head. And it's all when I meal prep. So all I know is I get to eat this. And if I can eat this, that's great. If I can't, I'm gonna need to eat more later. But um I truly hope this helps. And I truly hope that you can join this with me. And I'm just excited to walk with you. Thank you so much.